gentlemen, welcome back to Marketing Monday, back after a 1-week hiatus with all of the news in the past week of marketing and business. We've had a lot. Even in the last 24 hours, so much has changed. But first, I want to take you back to World War II. You see, in World War II, the American and Australian forces fighting in the Pacific started landing on little islands between Australia and Japan. And occasionally, they would set up bases on these islands, like in Melanesia. And on these islands, there was occasionally indigenous populations that would see the bases come up and see all the prosperity and goods and medicine appear. And they saw the soldiers at the bases never seemed to actually do anything productive. The soldiers weren't fishing, they weren't hunting, they weren't working the land, they weren't crafting, yet somehow they had all of this prosperity. It all seemed to come from these metal birds that appeared and dropped all kinds of goods for them. And so when the war was over and the American military disappeared, they were wondering, where was the cargo? Where was all this stuff that was dropping from the sky? So they tried to mimic what they saw the American bases doing to see that it would make the planes come and drop more things. They started creating their own fake airstrips, fake military bases, and fake towers, and performing American military marches. This is a concept called the cargo cult. And the idea was they didn't really know what the wealth was created by. They were trying to imitate what worked in the past. They saw work in the past to try and get the same result. Completely unrelated to this story, Keith Gill reappeared. You may know him as Deep Fucking Value. You may know him as Roaring Kitty. You may know him as the star of his own film, Dumb Money.
Yo, what up, everybody? Roaring Kitty here. I'm gonna pick a stock and talk about why I think it's interesting, and that stock is GameStop.
Roaring Kitty took over the internet by being one of the first people to make a public investment into GameStop. He made a video talking about his thesis that it would go up. And then as it hit, it started to rise, resulting in a short squeeze that made him a ton of money and him being the face of an entire retail trading movement to take down the hedge funds. He famously had to sit in front of the House Committee on Financial Services and explain that he was not an actual cat.
A few things I am not. I'm not a cat. I like the stock.
He liked the stock. He made a fun video about his own trading strategy that involved Uno cards.
Draw a card, keep it real easy, and would you say 6? Okay, so I'm going to be buying 6,000 shares of PEN, right?
And after the GameStop craze of 2021, he disappeared. And we thought maybe never to be seen again. He walked off into the sunset with all of his money until the Roaring Kitty account tweeted for the first time in 2 years. This image of a gamer leaning forward and focusing controller in hand. Immediately, the internet went into an uproar. GME, AMC both started trending. Babe, wake up. DFE posted on Twitter, this is the top of Wall Street bets. Overnight, a $3 billion company, GameStop, became a $9 billion company. It doubled overnight, 104%. Everyone started piling in because they said, oh my God, it's happening again. Again, this is a company that has thousands of stores. I believe 3,700 stores across the globe. Real physical locations with employees and merchandise in stock. And the value of it is apparently double after this guy tweeted one image of a gamer leaning forward. It is unheard of in stock market history to have this level of mania around something so tangentially related to the stock. AMC, which by the way, he has never spoken about. AMC skyrocketed at the same time. A company that again is the largest theater chain in the world, 10,000 screens across the globe, is worth double because a guy who was popular for the GameStop meme tweeted once. If Warren Buffett saw this, he might have a heart attack and die. He's already getting old. Immediately, Wall Street bettors started jumping in on this, sensing a chance to get in, to cash in on a rally they might have missed last time. This guy YOLO'd $80,000 that the stock would reach $30 within a day. An insane bet until it came true. And he made 155 grand profit in one day. Unreal. Short sellers lost $1 billion in the first hour of trading. They started halting. Celebrities, crypto scammers, influencers started getting in on it immediately again. Andrew Tate held an emergency meeting saying, I like the stock, tweeting every single piece of GameStop I buy, I will never sell. No matter what, stock up or stock down. Diamond hands until I've stopped breathing. Andrew Tate, the GameStop influencer now. Dave Portnoy put in $500K into AMC and $500K into GameStop at $34 a share. He bought after the spike. Roaring Kitty followed up with more tweets to keep the frenzy going, mostly of Sigma stuff. Just random movie clips of like Wolverine and the Avengers all rallying together. This is what has caused the downtrodden people over at r/Superstonk, who have felt betrayed and lost and alone all these past years, to go into a frenzy. All of their waiting is finally paid off. This is the moment they've been waiting for. They're back to their completely psychotic ways yet again. DFV just implied the stock is going to explode. In this tweet, the last clip with the piano is playing from the Game of Thrones score, specifically this song called Light of the Seven. It plays in a scene where there's a green explosion. Green explosion? It's gonna explode up green. And maybe you might see some parallels to the cargo cults of Oceania. If they wave the sticks in the right way, they may too generate insane returns. But I have to tell you, I am not super confident that this time around will be even the same heights of the last time, let alone any different in the final result. Because as much as FOMO and YOLO are pulling people back in, I found this post from 3 months ago on Superstock. Roaring Kitty is over with. We need a new Roaring Kitty to guide everyone. As time goes on, I have a feeling the whole GameStop debacle was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for investors. I'm so sad the wave is over now. This is not an isolated feeling. There are so many people who feel that they missed their one shot to strike it rich on GameStop or AMC. And if they see this chance, they're not going to miss it. They're going to dump their money in to the next big thing. But I want to remind you what Roaring Kitty actually did, what the planes actually were. See, Roaring Kitty, back in the day, did an extremely detailed analysis on GameStop's business, on the financials, and determined that it was slightly undervalued, that perhaps they were predicting bankruptcy and it was going to trudge along fine. So he bought a position expecting to go up 4 or 5 times maybe. And he hit a lucky moment in time, a perfect storm, where everything worked together correctly, hit the shorts at the right time, hit the internet at the right time, and it went up 100x. But his initial thesis was not for a 100x return. It was for a solid 4 to 5x return on a company that he thought was overshort and undervalued. He also, in his presentation to the House Committee, said the following 2 reasons why he believed in the stock.
I believe that GameStop has the potential to reinvent itself as the ultimate destination for gamers within the rapidly growing $200 billion gaming industry. GameStop has a unique opportunity to pivot by embracing the digital economy. GameStop may be able to find new revenue streams that vastly exceed the value of its business.
Interesting. So it's been a few years since then. What actually happened? Well, it turns out that first reason, that they have a steady source of revenue, has been continually declining. GameStop revenue peaked in 2011 with the console generation back then and has fallen pretty consistently every year since. They pivoted to an NFT marketplace that lasted 18 months and then closed down with zero profit, in fact, a major loss. They pivoted into buying and selling rare Pokemon cards. This too also was a failure. They pivoted into letting their new CEO just use company money to gamble on different stocks, basically turning GameStop into some sort of like retail funded hedge fund. All of the things that actually make the company money have plunged. Hardware sales, software sales have plunged even further. Collectibles revenue is down. All the main categories of GameStop income are down from the last time this thing happened, which means if GameStop was a bad idea in 2021, it is a much worse idea and worse business now. By the way, this is during a time when hardware sales are up, which means people are still buying consoles. They're just not buying them at GameStop. What about the hedgies? Who cares about the business? The point is, we're gonna screw the short sellers. Go! Let's take down these filthy rich fucks, okay? They're betting against the business. And if we buy and we hold, we will crush them. Except, unlike 2021, the short interest of GameStop shares is only at 24%. It was at 140 in 2021, making it nearly impossible for them to cover. Very unlikely we're gonna have the same level of short squeeze that we had in 2021. In fact, this feels like a just retail pumping in piling mania. And then finally, my main reason that I am not convinced we're going to have a second round of GameStop mania that hits the heights of the previous one is that the people that are buying into this just don't have the money they used to have. Gen Z is getting hard by inflation. This applies to the millennials as well. Credit card balance is 26% higher than it was for millennials a decade ago. Delinquency rates are higher than they were in 2021. Excess savings. In August 2021, the average consumer combined had $2.1 trillion in excess savings as a result of mortgage forbearance, pandemic stimulus, etc. Now, that is down down to barely above what it was pre-2021. The money is no longer in there. McDonald's and other big brands are warning that low-income consumers especially are starting to crack. The clock is running out on this era. I've described this economy many times as K-shaped, which basically means that a small percent of people are still trending up. They are making out okay with these rising asset prices, rising housing prices, rising stock prices. But the majority of people, at least 60%, if not 80%, are trending slightly, if not heavily down, okay? They're facing rising inflation, rising cost of living, and their wages are not keeping up. And so they are being more and more slightly squeezed, especially as the job market starts to soften. And as they look around and see insane housing prices and insane cost of living increases, I don't blame them. I think we've entered into what I would call financial nihilism. It just feels when I look around, I have a Gen Z audience, young millennial audience, and I see so much financial nihilism because they see housing out of reach, they see cost of living out of reach, and they say there's just no way I can survive even on a 2x return. So people are looking around and they're just thinking, I have to make 100x. And so they're looking at gambling, they're looking at crypto, and looking at meme stocks because they need to find some way to get that 100x return. And it scares me, I'll be honest with you, but I have to tell them the math on these three things does not work out. I'm not saying no one's ever made money on it. In fact, people will make money on it and you'll see it. These things will cost you more than they make you. However, for the short term, all of these things are mooning. And there is one major winner of these particularly being up. And that winner is not this guy. It's not this guy because he's in jail. SBF, our old pal, he used to live at large, fancy dinners, Bahamas sex orgies, until he ended up behind bars. Famously, this is what happened. People gave him their money to buy and hold crypto on the FTX exchange. He took their money and made a bunch of crazy bets with it. He bet on random companies, he bet on random coins, he made Super Bowl ads, he bailed out Alameda Research and his girlfriend. And when they came to ask for their money back, he didn't have it. When he was locked up, one of the main things he bought with their money, Solana, this was its price. This is when FTX collapsed and he was locked up. However, since he was locked up, this is what happened to Solana. It bounced back. By the way, Anthropic, one of the companies he bought, this is a huge AI company now. This mooned. Many of the bets were terrible, but these two have gone really well after he got jailed, which means against all odds, FTX has not only all of the money to pay everyone back, but billions more. They are going to pay everyone back with interest. That's insane. They sold the Solana at the second peak. They got the money, which means though he did do something absolutely illegal, this is not what he told customers he'd be doing with their money, but he did double it, which means had he somehow avoided bankruptcy, had he gotten a loan or just shuffled along and avoided it, he would be fine right now. He would be sitting pretty. He'd be eating with politicians. He'd be hanging out with Tom Brady. He went from this to this. But it is good news. The winner of this is that the people that put their money with FTX and thought they lost it all, they get it all back with interest. In any bankruptcy, this is just an unbelievable result, said John Ray, which is, by the way, the guy that also managed Enron. However, most bankrupt companies cannot pay people back. That's the point, they're bankrupt. FTX did. There is one other recent company that was also able to pay everyone back and extra in a bankruptcy. It's insane, but they have a rare connection. Tom Brady. Tom Brady did an FTX ad, crypto FTX UN, but he also did an ad for Hertz car rentals. This Super Bowl ad was for Hertz trying to turn its image around before it too went bankrupt. How deep does this go? Is Tom Brady infiltrating companies, bankrupting them, but getting all the money paid out to the consumers at the bottom? When they fired Chapter 11 bankruptcy was the beginning of 2021, and then immediately after they filed, used car prices absolutely soared. They went bankrupt and started selling all their cars and made way more money than they owed, which means Hertz is back in business. Do you know what they did with their second lease on life? Hertz finally had a second chance. They had a miracle Tom Brady-esque Hail Mary pass. They took all of their money and they bought 100,000 Teslas. To try and do an electric vehicle pivot for Hertz. Turns out most people who are not EV owners are not comfortable with the idea of finding a charger when they're just out traveling and renting a car. Business travelers and vacationers suffered from range anxiety and didn't want the hassle. So they would arrive after a long flight, see only Teslas were there, and then just go to Avis. By the way, famously, Elon Musk tweeted this, Hertz did not get a discount for buying in bulk 100,000 cars. They bought them all at full market value. Now, this was a good dig from Elon Musk to get that Tesla stock up. However, this is a bad look for both Tesla and Hertz because he started cutting the price of the cars because they weren't selling. This forced Hertz to revalue all Tesla on its book, and they lost $2 billion in depreciation. Which again, as Hertz started to fail, as this business started to do bad, as people started to crash the Teslas, Hertz Teslas had accidents 4 times more often than the other cars. Once that started to happen, Hertz had to sell 20,000 EVs at fire sale prices, which also hurt the price of Teslas because they were flooding the market with like $18,000 Teslas. So Hertz, if you can believe it, is possibly headed for bankruptcy twice. Please, God, get Tom Brady back. Other big news completely outside of this area. If you are one of the people that wants the world to change really rapidly and have no idea what's going on and want us all to be scared and confused, OpenAI just dropped a brand new AI model today, GPT-4o. And while the results are pretty incredible, I have to say it's a little bit spooky. Now, there is one thing that is an unequivocal win in my mind. I have always wanted this feature. I think it is the coolest use of real-time AI technology. And that is this.
You to function as a translator. I have a friend here who only speaks Italian, and I only speak English. And every time you hear English, I want you to translate it to Italian. And if you hear Italian, I want you to translate it back to English. Is that good?
Perfetto. Mark, io mi chiedo se le balene potessero parlare, cosa ci direbbero?
Mike, she wonders if whales could talk, what would they tell us?
They might ask, how do we solve linear equations?
Potrebbero chiederci come risolviamo le equazioni lineari.
Real-time live translation on your phone into any of their supported languages. Pretty impressive. I foresee, as this evolves, it being incredible for global connectivity. A win for ChatGPT and a win for people that want to translate. The one loser was Duolingo, who dropped $250 million in market cap overnight. Other features they showed off.
And I want you to tell them a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered.
Again, they showed off the increased personality of ChatGPT 4o, having it use emotion in the way it tells its stories and voices.
Barrett, Vibe was a curious robot, always exploring.
I started this story, but I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Let's add some drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours.
No, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness.
Understood. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours.
Are you hearing that? AI nannies are gonna parent kids, dude. It's already getting a little crazy. Then they showed this.
ChatGPT. What equation did I write down there?
You wrote down 3x plus 1 equals 4.
So what's the first step I should take to try to solve this?
The first step is to get all the terms with x on one side and the constants on the other side. So what do you think we should do with that plus 1?
Okay, I'm going to try to subtract 1 from both sides, and then I'll see what I get.
Now, what do you get when you subtract 1 from both sides?
I can do that, stupid machine. Get fucked, idiot robot. I can solve that. Chegg stock also dropped. This is live teaching. Again, it's walking you through the steps. It's not answering the question for you. It's teaching you how to learn it.
Okay, so ChatGPT, this is what I ended up with. How does this look?
Spot on. What do you think we should do next to solve for x?
I'm not sure. Can you give me another hint?
Think about what operation would undo multiplication.
Is it subtraction?
Close, but...
The robot's getting real close to call him an idiot. The AI just got sentient and we're already pissing it off. And then finally, this demo was about real-time interview practice.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Rocky.
And I want to listen to you real close to the tone of this ChatGPT's voice during this. And I want you to think about what other possible uses, nefarious uses, this might end up getting used for.
I'm awesome. Listen, I got some huge news.
Oh, do tell. I'm all ears.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to be interviewing at OpenAI. Have you heard of them?
OpenAI? Sounds vaguely familiar. Kidding, of course. That's incredible, Rocky.
I just need to know, do I look presentable, professional?
Well, Rocky, you definitely have the I've been coding all night look down, which could actually work in your favor. Maybe just run a hand through your hair or lean into the mad genius vibe. Your enthusiasm is what's really going to shine through.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw this on.
Oh, Rocky, that's quite quite a statement piece. I mean, you'll definitely stand out.
We are literally making this movie real. That is literally what they are doing. They are literally living the plot of Her. There is absolutely zero shot that somebody, especially they put this like a game or something, is not gonna fall for this. Some lonely person, dude. Are you kidding me? Shinzo Abe in heaven watching birth rates plummet because GPT-4o has the Scarlett Johansson voice. But Japan's not the only country that has to worry about declining birth rates. They're just the tip of the spear. Across the globe, an already isolated, unable to afford a home youth populace is now going to be faced with lifelike GPT significant others that compliment them constantly. I mean, we're headed to a really crazy situation. I do agree that things like real-time translations are awesome uses of technology, but we are just not ready for how fast this is moving and how quickly it's going to unlock new societal-wide problems. But there's one company that's really not fucking ready, and that's Apple. You see, Apple's been dominating the world, most valuable company in the world for so long. They were completely blindsided by AI. Their fucking headset has been pretty much a flop. All of their new ideas are the same thing as last year, but slightly thinner. And AI is putting them in a really tough spot. They are finally realizing, hey, we got to move fast on this. We can't make our own AI ChatGPT competitor fast enough. So it just came out. They are nearing a secret deal to admit defeat and put OpenAI, which is Microsoft funded, on the iPhone. They're going to do it probably through Siri, but ChatGPT will be the back end, which is a huge win for ChatGPT because they get instant access to all of iPhone customers. But it also is a white flag from Apple, who is very worried about going another year or two without a good AI solution. They are also encountering issues in other parts of their business, namely their advertising. You see, Apple has always been probably the world's greatest advertiser, one of them, up there with Nike. From the Think Different campaign, the 1984 campaign, the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC campaign, the iPod campaign, one of the all-time greats. They recently launched a brand new campaign for the iPad Pro called Crush.
The most powerful iPad ever is also the thinnest.
They really did this, by the way. That's how all iPads are actually made. The reaction was possibly a little bit overblown, but it was swift and severe. I'm not sure wanton destruction of all the good and beautiful things in this world was really the vibe you were trying for. Again, ads are about the vibe, and the vibe was bad. The symbolism of indiscriminately crushing beautiful creative tools is an interesting choice. Crushing symbols of human creativity and cultural achievements to appeal to pro creators, nice. Maybe for the next Apple Watch Pro, you should crush sports equipment, show a robot running faster than a man, then turn to the camera and say, God is dead and we have killed him. Just on a more simple level, it was really unpopular in Japan. This Japanese guy, you destroyed all the creative tools never heard of humans. Worst commercial ever. It was just deeply unpopular there. This ad effectively convinced me I need less technology in my life. And then finally, a little too far for me, did the Taliban make this? Not 100% sure that was implied. Now, of course, some people stick up for it. Isn't it just saying we pressed all of these things together and fit them in the thinnest iPad ever? Am I crazy? I don't think they're saying let's destroy humanity's art. And I don't think they were trying to say let's destroy humanity's art. However, I think the subtext of the ad is pretty unpleasant given the larger climate. We have a problem where many jobs are being replaced by AI and people generally feel a little bit of discomfort. There's also a larger problem that's not even Apple's own fault, really, where they have gone from being the underdog against the big monolith that is Microsoft to being the big guy. They are the bad guy. They are the big corporation. That alone already fits with the feelings of this to make it feel a little bit off in some way. Apple apologized. We missed the mark with this video and they're sorry, and they're gonna pull the ad from TV. They had this miss, they had the weird Mother Nature skit with Tim Cook recently, where they've just been a little bit off, a little bit out of touch with what consumers actually want to hear. And this was echoed by other people in the advertising profession. In a world where the future of creativity is constantly being threatened with extinction, the metaphorical crushing of creativity is a stark reminder of exactly how these people are feeling. Squished, squeezed, and pressurized. And I think the theme of all of the stories so far today is that people are feeling squished, squeezed, and pressurized. If you want to get my opinion on this, obviously it's a pretty simple ad concept. The iPad is thin, but it has a lot of stuff in it. That's what they were trying to say. And you know why I know that? Because I've been in meetings where we pitched the exact same concept at NVIDIA. And I mean literally the exact same concept. Back when I worked in marketing at NVIDIA, we had a meeting about thin and light laptops. And we wanted to say that they had so much stuff in them. They had the power of a full 2080 GPU. They had, insane cooling. They had all this stuff, but in a thin and light package. And it was very difficult. We didn't have the budget that Apple has. And I couldn't find the actual ad, but I found in my notes this mock-up of us putting a disco ball and dry ice and a keyboard and a GPU and a monitor. And I recall the shoot of trying to make this come to life was crazy. So while I do think this is a pretty, at best, mid and at worst, pretty bad out of touch ad, I understand what you're going through, poor Apple marketing team. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. And one fix was proposed that would have made it, I think, a lot better. And it was just reverse it. It's so much better. It's a great ad. It's not about crushing things, it's about bringing them back. But it all fits, you get it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Marketing Monday. Hope you enjoyed. Tune in every week for more analysis, breakdown, and information on the world of marketing and business. Appreciate you watching.